welcome everyone to Sunday Sentiments.
Of course, this is a hate crime.
And if she's found guilty, then she has to face the consequences.
They normally end up killing some particular kinds of people.
It's a violation of human rights.
That's a very traumatic event.
So I just wanted to ask the panel about their own opinions on this topic.
I agree with each one's point, where Shiko is saying that what's the point of apologizing? But on the other hand, when you look at what the others are saying, it starts with an apology. An apology, of course, has to be followed with what are you going to do about that situation? Are you going to make things different in the future so the same things are never repeated? That's what they need to do. But I think, like Keshi said, the Danish government is doing, in my opinion, lots of things like sponsoring the Greenlandic, when they come here, they are treated like Danes and everything. They take care of them, and that's why actually a lot of them don't want to be independent, actually completely independent from Denmark, because they have a lot of positive things that the Danes give to them.
Thank you. Shira had a point to make as well, and then we can go to Keshi again.
Yeah, I think this is a very complex situation, because like Shiko is talking about what is being done after the apology. And to my understanding, the Canadian government has done a lot for the Native people. For example, with education, I think they don't pay for up to university, they don't pay in healthcare and a lot of other benefits. And I do understand that those who have businesses or companies in those native reservations don't pay tax and all. So there is a lot that has been done. But the problem is that the repercussions of what happened are going to be long term. And even like that article we were reading, it mentions that the native Canadians have a problem with, the communities have a problem with high crime, addiction, substance abuse, unemployment, and they are poorer than other people in that country. And it's interesting that immigrants come from Africa and other countries in Canada, and they go and work and they become wealthy, or they become, they improve their livelihoods, but the natives just never move from that position where they are. So it's like a lot needs to be done, and they need to think how really can they be helped. And sometimes I feel maybe they also need to have some sort of psychological help as a community, because it's like they've not moved past that. Those abuses are not happening today, but they have led to the whole community being traumatized. So a lot more needs to be done, even psychologically, to help them to overcome this trauma so that they can move. Because if people can come from other countries and make it, why can't they make it in their own country? And they have a lot of support from government. So I think more needs to be done for psychological help. I think I'm not an expert, it's just what I think.
All right, about the thing that you said about the natives in Canada versus the people who immigrate there, I feel like we can see that in most of these kinds of situations. Also, Native Americans in the United States, who at least from what I've seen, suffer from the same things, but also the problem of a lot of these women being like kidnapped and disappearing and stuff like that. But this is more like my opinion and not a fact at all, but I feel like it's more like the people who immigrate to these kinds of countries expects that, like, they have expectation you're gonna have to work very hard, and they just like work to the bone every single day trying to get this success that they believe that they can achieve. But it's not every one of them that achieves this, of course. But I feel like for natives, I feel like there's probably like a system in place that is made, like, maybe not intentional, but it is there and is probably making sure that these people can't really succeed in the same way that everybody else can. I don't know if this is fact, but I feel like it's more like my opinion in that. Keshi, Shiko, and then Nagi.
I wanted to respond to what I said earlier about the programs done in Greenland by the Danish government and Kirigo's comment that the government does a lot. I wanted to say that some people, some scholars say it's for Denmark's self-interest and imperialistic self-interest because Greenland is a very strategic region at the moment. So with the interest of keeping this belonging to Denmark, then of course the government has to do this and that. So it's still imperialism, throwing people, as Shiko said, throwing money at people. But I guess the people there don't mind that. But let's not think that it's benevolence that these programs are started there. Because if the country was not of strategic importance, then the question would be, would these programs be put in place? Because we have countries like St. Croix, where they were colonies of Denmark. Do we have those programs there? They don't belong to Denmark, I know, but when they stopped their colonialism, did they start programs there to help those people? I don't know, but that's a good question. But also I wanted to say, Shiro, that people, these natives have, in my opinion, a collective trauma. They all have that trauma. They're suffering trauma from what has happened. And these are not, it's not just being colonized, it's very hurtful things happening. Where I was reading the story where some bodies of those children which were discovered, some of them were even pregnant because they'd been abused, yes, by the priests or whoever, and made pregnant and killed, and their families. You know, this is a lot of trauma that it takes generations to overcome that trauma. Look at how the Jews and their Holocaust, how long it has taken. Until today, they are still traumatized by these events. So yeah, trauma can stop people developing, because if that is your frame of mind, that you're always in that trauma mindset, then it's difficult to move on. So like you said, maybe psychological help to help them move on, to deal with that trauma before now they can heal as a nation and become productive as a nation, or nations, because they are different nations.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you. I believe it was Shiko and then Nagi and then Catherine.
I'm just gonna, yeah, exactly what Keshi said. I was going to talk about collective trauma because Shiro was talking about some sort of psychological intervention, which there hasn't been for the communities, not just for an individual here and there, but for the communities. Because you know what, Shakira, what you said, that other migrants, and I think you do have a point, other migrants, when they go to these places, they know there's the expectation that they'll have to work hard and hustle to get by. But unfortunately, these governments, Canada, Denmark, and wherever else, Australia, are creating a dependency. They're creating a dependency in these people as a community where they don't feel like they really have to do anything. And on top of that, they haven't processed this collective trauma, which is a recipe for no progress, addiction issues, and all those things. So, and that was my initial point. Apologies and throwing money is not enough. There needs to be this psychological interventions to help these people work through their collective trauma. Acknowledging and the apology has taken so many years, you know, and I'm just gonna say this, you know, after the Holocaust, immediately the whole world acknowledged immediately this was wrong. How could we do this? So you see, the Jewish people have had support from that time, and making their healing faster. They're still traumatized now, but they've had a lot of support and a lot of, you know, just global, you know, shock that this was allowed to happen. With these other groups of people, the Greenlandic people, the Indigenous people in Canada, in Australia, they've had to go hundreds of years and years and years with no acknowledgement that they have suffered a trauma or they were abused or whatever. So that's why this drinking addiction and collective trauma is there today. So I'm like Keshi, Shiro, Shakira, yes, there needs to be some sort of also psychological intervention to help these people deal with the collective trauma.
Yes, thank you. It actually reminds me of something that we were taught in history class, specifically about the Holocaust and Second World War in general, and how my teacher said that he believes that the reason that the actions, like they were so quick to take action after the war to bring reparations to these people and justice, any kind of justice that they could give them, was because this was actually well documented. Like you can say the residential schools in Canada and slavery that happened in America and colonization in Africa and all these other places, including Australia, none of this was documented. And even if it was, all the documents, like most of them were burned or just they got rid of them as quickly as they could because they didn't want this kind of shadow over the history of their country. That's why I feel like he also expressed that that the reason that so many people were paying attention to this in so many of these countries that didn't get involved until late in the war, that they got involved because they were like, the whole world is watching. This war was televised. Like a lot of it was like recorded and stuff like that as well. So everybody was looking to the countries that, like to Germany specifically also as well, like, are you going to do something about this? Like this was your fault. So they were like very quick to jump, be like, we're going to fix this, because everybody's eyes were on Germany at that point. So I feel like that's also why there was quick actions right after that, compared to other problems, including slavery. Maggie?
I hope I still remember my point. Okay, I wanted to say, like in the case of Canadians, I think when you are wrong, they feel they've been really wronged, deeply wronged, and the wound is so deep that you can't just heal it with some small incentives. So what they really want is maybe to sit and maybe discuss, because reconciliation has to be there when the truth has been spoken out, that what happened, because there are those people who are affected directly and those, they are still alive, and they, like they say, if they hurt you mentally, you can't move on. You become stagnant mentally and you can't even think. That's why you find that people from other countries can go to Germany and make, to Canada and make it. And them themselves, they can't, because they are stagnant mentally. They can't move on. They have been traumatized. So they only need at least somebody who can acknowledge what they went through and sit down, and maybe things like those children who died, like 6,000, and they don't know where they are. If you have your child going and never come back, how will you actually move on? It's not easy. So I think it's a good thing that it's been raised now, even though it took so long, but the whole world should talk about it so that the history should not repeat itself.
Yes, thank you, Maggie. I feel like we're all agreeing a lot on the history that needs to be spread and talked about more, and also the, as Maggie put it very well, the stagnation of these people and how they're, because of the trauma that they have built up over the years, and also just the trauma in general from the history, has led them to becoming stagnant, not being able to develop and evolve from this. I believe it was actually, who's next?
Marie Claire.
Okay, Marie Claire, you had something to say?
Yeah. I mean, this is a very sad topic, as all of you have mentioned, but it makes me, again, listening to all of you and bringing the history about the Holocaust, it makes me think about the UN for some reason, because I think we need UN to make something more exemplary to this, because it's a violation again of a human rights. Even though they are kids, they are human rights. And if the UN was created after the Holocaust or after the Second World to try and make sure that things like that would never happen again, and then they discover that it's actually still happening or it happened. So what's next? Is there anything going to be done, or they're going to bury that? And I think it was Keshi and Chiku who said an apology. Again, I'm thinking about, I know it's not about Rwanda, but recently France made an apology to what happened to Rwanda because they really caused it. An apology is the start of everything, but as Chico said, it doesn't bring people back. But also reading about what people say about an apology, obviously, with regards to Rwanda, it's about political, making sure the relationship resumed and the countries have a good relationship. So everything again comes about the politics. But going back to Canada, really, I just wonder what's next. It's then an apology and that's it. So I think for me, it just makes me question about the world we live in, and also it should be ready for the whole world, not even in Canada. You can't blame Canada, but if there is this international community which is supposed to make a relationship amongst the countries, when based on a Second World War, then killing people. What's next? What's next with the Canada? I'm really confused. I'm angry at the same time.
I don't think truly anybody knows where they're going to go from this, but many people are fighting for justice, and there's been like a trend of people trying to, for example, get some of these statues of these people who were in charge of these residential schools pulled down and have been like this. The Canadian system has been calling it vandalism because people have been putting red handprints on the statues of these leaders of the residential schools. Whilst I don't understand how they can compare that, like call it vandalism, while people are protesting children being murdered and abused for several years. And also, all in the end, what do they get? An apology, and that's it. And people still keep finding bodies of these kids because they keep trying to hide it or bury it, and just think saying sorry is enough to like bring back all these kids or heal the trauma of the parents who lost them, which I don't know. Shiko?
No, I just wanted to say, Marie Claire also has her own personal story she's shared about the genocide, and saying that France apologized like a few years ago, but then again, it's always for political, strategic reasons, lip service, and all that. So, and we come back to the point of then what? Yeah, great, you've apologized and acknowledged. That's super. But then what's next? And also about the UN, Marie Claire's point. Where is the UN in all this? Where is their comment? What are they saying? What is the point of the UN actually? I really think it's just a pointless organization. I really do not even know why they're there. They got involved even in the genocide in Rwanda, like much, much later. But also, is the Queen and the royal family going to say anything about this? Because this happened during the time where they were and they're still the heads of state of this country, of Canada. So make some comments, show that you also care. Stop being silent about things as if it means that you're holding yourself accountable. It doesn't mean they're accountable, but since you're the head of state and these things happened in the 1800s to the 19 whatever, actually when the Queen Victoria was in rule, why not make a comment? Why not say this is so wrong, blah, 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 blah. There's been no comment whatsoever. So it just annoys me.
I feel like people do demand like countries and like monarchs and whoever is in control at the time to take responsibility and say some kind of statement, but I feel like these people live in a whole different world. Like even even if like more people were killed after that, they wouldn't care, because they live in a little bubble like of richness and comfort every day, while the people that they ruled over, which includes like governments and stuff like that, the people that they rule over are just suffering. Then like I feel like also what we're saying, like a lot of these countries apologizing, like France, we all know has a history, even very recently, of even the police showing very clearly that they are racist and they do have these prejudices. So them apologizing for something that happened a while ago in Rwanda is clearly just a political move, because have they actually taken any kind of step to be like, let me try to make some reparations, try to do anything in general? The only situation that I've really seen that happening in is with after the Holocaust with Jewish people in general. There's no other, I can't actually think of any other group of marginalized people that have actually gotten reparations or any kind of compensation or help to fix the situations that they've now landed themselves in. Like a lot of African nations probably before colonization were fruitful and rich. They had a bunch of resources, but now there's still to this day European countries running everything. Like South Africa, that one I still don't get. There's still Dutch people living there. And even though they are the minority, some people, I've literally heard some Americans saying like, oh, you want me to be black for a day in America? Try being white for a day in South Africa. Like you're still a minority, but you are still the top. Like the richest people in the world are the minority. They're the 1%, but they're still like the rulers. They're the top of the food chain. It doesn't matter if they're the minority or not, if you still have the power. I went on a tangent. I got a bit too excited about that. But I think if there's no other comments, we're gonna wrap it up. No, Keshi?
Just a quick comment to say that the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, he condemned the defacing of and toppling of these statues of the Queen and Queen Victoria. And then one Tory MP says that frankly, I think it is people trying to link and use the awfulness of the tragedy that has been uncovered. Sorry, he was saying that, he finds the vandalism incredibly disrespectful and said it was an odd juxtaposition, trying to blame the monarchy for the tragedy over which it had no political control. So you have people who feel that, the current monarch has no blame. Of course, they don't have blame, but the monarchy at that time was ruling when these injustices happened. So like Shiko said, they should say something. They should say something. That's just my opinion.
Yes, just to add to that point, and then we can finish it off. I don't think, first of all, Tories, we already know. I feel like the kind of like Republicans of England, but that's not my point. And also Boris Johnson also kind of feeds into that. And also the racism. It's more subtle, but it's still racist. But I feel like nobody, especially the royal family, can say absolutely nothing, because Prince Andrew, was involved with Epstein, who also exploited both children from America and all over the world. So they have literally absolutely nothing to say. And also Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth, that whole monarchy, the whole royal family is involved in so many scandals. And also maybe they don't have any political say in this, but you're still like the reigning leaders. And you can't even make a statement to say, I'm sorry for what happened back then, even though I wasn't the leader or I wasn't even alive. Like, it's still your family. You can still take some accountability, because it is your blood that did this and caused all this trauma for all these people and children and families and generations after that. Just because you didn't do it doesn't mean that the victims of your forefathers don't still feel the consequences of that today. Okay, so we're gonna wrap this up today. Thank you all for watching, and please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We will see you next time on Sunday Sentiments.